morning, Facebook. Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, the world. Coming up on the show today, giving them a warm welcome, Mr. Nicholas Holmes from New Day, New You, and Carol Harris from Management Magic. Okay, all right. So, welcome to the show, everyone. First of all, I'd like to welcome in Hannah Matarazzo, our co-host extraordinaire this morning. Good morning, Hannah.
Morning, Andrew. Morning, everyone.
Fantastic. Great to have you here.
Version of Ed, aren't I?
You are. Actually, a bit better looking than Ed. So,
very much.
Bless him. Poor fella. Not very well at the moment. So, we wish Ed a speedy recovery. So, get well soon, Ed. But plenty coming up in the show today. And if you're out there watching, I'd like to say hello in the chat and we will give you a shout out. First of all, I want to shout out to Mr. Logan Blackburn-Issett from Strogan Marketing, one of the best marketeers out there. Good morning, Logan. And also Mr. Seb Shivers. Good morning, Seb. Good to see you from UW, one of the best UW reps I've ever met in my life. Awesome. So, Hannah, I think it's probably time to welcome some new guests into the Cobra Club. Because every week we have lots of people joining the Cobra Club, and each week let's obviously welcome them into the club. So let's hit this button and let's welcome the new members. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Mr. Mark Winfield into the club. Mr. Ian McLachlan into the club this morning. I saw them. Mr. Alex Gayan, Mr. Lee Taylor, and Mr. Sivakuma Rayu. So welcome into the Cobra Club. We look forward to seeing you inside the club very soon. And where is the club, Hannah?
The club is at www.thecobraclub.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much. And yeah, really looking forward and excited to be interviewing our guests today. So coming up in a few minutes will be Nicholas Holmes. But before that, Hannah, I hear you might have some breaking news for us.
I might.
What's the story, Hannah?
Well, so you asked me to let people know what's happening in the news, but really, I'm sure everybody is aware what's happening in the news. It's obviously been quite a week. Getting rid of a chancellor, getting a new chancellor, U-turning left, right, and centre, and finally getting the prime minister is gone. So we'll be getting a new prime minister apparently. I probably shouldn't say my political opinions on it all and remain slightly neutral, but it's yeah, I think maybe it's actually quite overwhelming for us as a nation, like very unstable, affecting us all financially with our homes and then also businesses. So I think probably the main thing I would say is that we have to try and get through these things the best we can. And that's where I think something like the Cobra Club is an amazing space where when you feel unstable about business and not sure what to do, at least collectively we've got each other, and that makes us a stronger and able to support each other. And then the other thing is just trying to not get overwhelmed with it's all so negative and scary. So I found a news channel which is all about positive news and finds little positive news stories. So I thought rather than just focus on all that, I would maybe just share a little bit of positive news. And it's only a small thing, but there was a chap in Hereford at the petrol station, and he saw they were healthcare assistants from a hospice, and they were putting petrol in. And when they came to pay, there was two of them. He'd paid for both of their petrol. He'd already gone, so they didn't know who he was, but they were just saying how thankful they were. And that made me think that when there are these big things in the country happening and we feel like we can't do anything, actually in our own communities and in our own lives, we can make differences. So that would be my positive bit of news, that maybe we can try and make a little difference in our own communities.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hannah. It's yeah, not enough good news out there really. Yeah, so everyone yeah, there's still good you can do out in your community and make that little bit of difference. It's that slight edge, isn't it? What Louise, who was a guest last week, was talking about. Just do one little thing a day, and cumulatively over time makes a big difference to people.
Yeah, it doesn't have to cost a lot either. I was in Aldi the other day, and I was in the middle bit where there's amazing stuff, and there was a big dryer thing I was getting, which and then there was a lady that was a little bit elderly with one of those pull along shopping things, and she was going to try and carry it home. So I just said to her, like, do you want a lift? I can give you a lift. She's like, are you sure? Like, is it? It wasn't really an amazing thing. I had my car anyway. She didn't look like a mass murderer, so I felt like we'd be all right. And I just dropped her home, and she didn't have to carry the heavy item, and she just said that it made such a difference to her, but it didn't cost me anything. I didn't even really have to go out my way. So I think maybe it's just if we can all just maybe just try and help each other out a bit.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for those words of enlightenment. So brilliant. Okay, so what we're going to do now, folks, we are going to roll a quick VT, and when we come back, as if by magic, we are going to have Nicholas Holmes in the club. Nicholas is from New Day, New You, and Nicholas works with the subconscious mind. And he's going to talk about something called SFH, which is what he refers to as the last resort, as many clients come to him after having tried other forms of hypnotherapy. So, it's quite interesting. Let's find out what that last resort is all about and how the mind works. And let's hear back from Nicholas in a minute. So, okay, I'll roll this VT, and here we go. Good morning, Nicholas.
Good morning. Just got me reaching for something there.
Yeah, you're in the seat. You all comfy?
Oh yeah, very comfy, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, welcome in to the Gritty Business Show, and good to see you.
And you too.
Thanks. So what I normally do, Nicholas, is ask. We're obviously going to go on to the topic of your talk, which is about the subconscious mind and coping in an uncertain world. But for the first maybe couple of minutes, maybe just give us a bit of background to who you are, how you've got to where you are. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So my name's Nicholas Holmes, and most people call me Nick. I don't care really. For many years I've been working in a business environment, helping teams to get the best out of them. So developing teams, working in a sales environment. And then quite a few years ago, I thought, well, there's got to be some way of working with people a bit better. So I started to study body language. And as you know, I think Hannah will probably confirm this, that 60-70% of our communication is body language. So I started to study body language a little bit more to try and develop rapport with teams and people. And then I started doing a bit of coaching. And then a few years ago, I wanted to take it further. And somebody suggested that hypnotherapy was a really effective way to build rapport and to help people. So it was on the Wednesday. I thought about it. I thought, oh, okay, there's I'll talk to this guy about hypnotherapy courses. And actually on the Saturday, I was on the course. So it was a quick decision. I thought I'll boost my kind of skills in talking and helping people. And I didn't look back. And then a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to leave my full-time job. I was doing it part-time at the time, hypnotherapy. So I was given a golden handshake I couldn't really refuse. So I thought, well, that will keep me going for a while I build the business. And I never looked back. So 2 years ago, I left my work and did it full time. And that's where I am today. And it's been quite successful. To date, at the moment, I've still got 100% success record with clients. I'm really pleased because it's a very powerful technique.
Yes.
It's very underestimated. A lot of people don't know about it. They tend to confuse it with stage hypnosis. So it's still got kind of a bit of a bad rap in a lot of circles, but it's a very powerful technique, and more psychologists are starting to recognize the power of hypnotherapy.
How many different types of hypnotherapy are there then? I just thought hypnotherapy was hypnotherapy. There's
not that many, really. I mean, the probably one we come up against the most is a regressive form of hypnotherapy, where they can take you into the past and to look at different forms of it. But very much the hypnotherapy that I practice is solution-focused hypnotherapy. And that's really based on the present and the future, because the past is gone and we can't do anything about it. And if we go into the past, because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality, the brain will think we're back there. So let's say, for example, you suffer a big trauma in your life and it's very difficult to get over. The brain will lock that away and it won't access information. However, as a therapist, if I say to somebody, well, tell me about what's happened to you, immediately it unlocks that compartment in the brain. We go back to that situation, then we start to suffer all the symptoms that we did when we experienced the trauma. So I've just put my client back into a trauma, and for the next hour, rather than helping them move forward, I'm trying to get them out of the mess I've just put them into by putting them back into the trauma. So it's very much goal-orientated and future-focused. Because if you think about it, all we have is our future. All we are is who we are today. Every day we wake up and have a second chance to achieve the most we can, to be the best we can. We can't go back. We can't change anything. So all we want to do is to change what the future looks like for us. And that's the premise of, or the tenet of solution-focused hypnotherapy.
Brilliant. How have you got?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss it. Well, if I was a client, like if people don't know much about it and all they have ever seen is like stage hypnosis and running around like a chicken or whatever, and that's their own knowledge, what would it actually look like to work with you?
Well, the sessions normally last for around 50 minutes, and what we really do is it's based on a lot of positive psychology. So we talk to our clients about how their week's been, so the good things that's happened to them during the week, or things that have been better each week. So my first session always starts off with an explanation of the brain, because once we know how the brain works, we can understand how we can improve ourselves. Because most people don't know how the brain works. When they have an issue, they often think, oh, it must be me, I'm useless, I'm no good. But that's not the facts. The facts is our brain is negative by default. And as you were talking beforehand and looking at the news, when we look at negative information, the negative information has there's two pathways in the brain called the low road and the high road. And the low road is the quickest pathway, but unfortunately that's the pathway to the negative part of our brain. So negative information registers more quickly than us being positive. Because when we're positive, we generally tend to be in our conscious mind, in our left prefrontal cortex, and it takes longer to process. So to think about things positively, so automatically we go straight into the amygdala, which is our fight or flight response. So anything we see as negative is an immediate response. So what we want to do is get people away from negative thinking to positive thinking. So it's all about positive thinking. We don't deal with negativity. So if our clients are being negative, we have to remind them that that's going to put them back into their fight and flight response. They're going to go back into feeling stressed and anxious, because every negative thought we have creates anxiety. So we want to move away from creating anxiety to creating positive thoughts. And when we create positive thoughts, we generate serotonin, which is our mood neurotransmitter. When reducing serotonin, we're nice, happy, calm, coping, brave little souls. So we get people to create serotonin. They stop producing cortisol, the stress hormone. Well, not stop producing it, but it overcomes the stress hormone. So we can't produce cortisol and serotonin at the same time. We get them feeling better. And after half hour of getting them to feel positive, we then put them into a trance.
Okay.
And during the trance session, it's a bit like when you're driving or baking a cake or watching Netflix. You get carried away, but you're still conscious. So our clients are still conscious, just close your eyes, but then we access the subconscious mind. And because we've been talking positively, they start to look at the goals they've got to work on. So they access all the positive side of the brain rather than the negative side. And then during the next 5 days, the brain literally rewires until the next session. So then they start to be more positive. And you actually see them go up on the positivity scale. So each week I say to them, well, how are you feeling this week? How much better do you feel? So they might come to me on a scale of 1 to 10 and saying I'm feeling a 2 or 3. By the end of the session, generally they're feeling an 8 to 9. And that's when we know the therapy is just about finished. And it's quite a fast therapy, because we're only dealing with positivity, we're not dealing with negativity. Getting them positive is much easier than dealing with negativity. So the sessions often can be just between 4 to 8 sessions. I mean, I've dealt with a client who came to me allegedly with anxiety. He actually had clinical depression, which is quite a bit different. But even to my surprise, after 8 sessions, he was fine. And it was incredible.
And so if, Nick, if someone was already receiving treatment from their GP, like medication or something for depression or anxiety, can they do this alongside that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I've had, in fact, that client was on antidepressants. So yeah, I've worked with clients with on medication, and as long as we're contraindicated, sometimes if it's quite a lot of medication, I might write to the doctor and just say, look, I intend to do this, just to make sure that they're aware of it. But yeah, I mean, a few of my clients have managed eventually to stop the medication as well, because what medication generally does, it tries to get the brain to generate serotonin. Now, we can only generate so much serotonin, and once that's generated, it's swashing about in our brain. And if it doesn't get absorbed back by the brain, we have a big hit of serotonin. It makes us feel good for a minute, and then it wears off. And the problem is with medication, once it wears off, you start to feel really low and moody again. So what we tend to do is to try and get people off medication so the brain starts to produce serotonin naturally. It doesn't actually effectively get wasted.
No. Really.
And then, for things like if people are struggling more with specific things like trying to lose weight or trying to stop smoking, or is it helpful for things like that too?
Oh no, yeah, it's perfect for those, because when you look at weight management and look at smoking, a lot of them kind of have their basis in stress. So we tend to smoke when we're stressed. It becomes a habit. We tend to eat when we're stressed. And because I explain, I don't want to make it too technical, but in our central nervous system, we have 2 systems called the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight system. And when we're in our fight or flight system, when we're really stressed, our body's ready to fight or to run. And when it's ready to fight or run, our immune system shuts down, and our digestion system shuts down properly. So we're all ready to fight. We've got blood in our muscles and we want to run away. So with weight management, because we're stressed, because the body's in a fight mode, the body's quite clever, and the brain is. It doesn't actually know when it's going to get its next meal. So what it does is, if it sees a sticky bun or something else, it will grab it. It will say, subconsciously, it will say, grab that bit of food, because I'm in a fight mode. I'm running away. I don't know if I'm running going to get my next meal again. I'm not going to get my 3 meals a day. So that's what happens. So we start eating to survive. We eat fats and sugars because the body likes fats and sugars. because it's a quick energy boost, and that's why we're in fight or flight mode. When we're in the parasympathetic nervous system, when we're resting and digesting, the body's quite calm again, and we don't need to grab that food because we have this routine where we're going to eat regularly. So all weight management often is about too much levels of stress. So when we reduce our stress levels and anxiety, we start to make rational decisions about eating. Yeah. So I do with clients, reduce the stress, reduce their anxiety, and although it does take a long time to reduce weight, I'm not going to do it in 4 to 8 sessions. My clients then go on, because they're less stressed and anxious, to stop eating these fats and sugars. So they end up just eating normally. And a few months later, I'm getting text message from saying, "Oh, Nick, I've lost another kilo, I've lost this, I've lost that." It's a long-term thing, but I can help them with the stress and anxiety, which is the first part of them eventually getting down to the size or lose the weight that they want to. It's the same with smoking. Smoking becomes a habit. We get stressed, and the body, and as you said before, Hannah, you were talking about it, we get into a habit. We can get into a habit of looking at the news, we get in the habit of being negative, and smoking's a habit. We just got to break that habit. And smoking does leave a void, but we fill that void with doing something else. So
and drink as well, alcohol, like people.
Yeah, well, alcohol and drugs are much the same, really.
Yeah.
In fact, I can't remember the name of the podcast. It's a really good podcast, and this guy talks about drugs being the reason we often get into drugs is through the lack of love. And then I think it's somewhere like you have to quote me on this, somewhere like Australia, where now instead of penalising people on drugs, they're helping them, giving them lots of love, lots of oxytocin, lots of support, and it's having a 50, 60, 70% better success rate than it was before. So with drugs and things, it's all to do with lack of love and lack of self-esteem and self-worth. And the same with drinking, really. I mean, the only slight challenge with drinking sometimes, you have to be a bit careful because the brain gets used to the chemicals produced by drinking. We can't just stop somebody drinking. You can't go from drinking a bottle of vodka a day overnight to stopping, because you could actually die. So we have to be a bit careful. But often people are kind of in between that. They're drinking 2 or 3 cans a day. But again, it's all to do with anxiety and stress. Mm-hmm. Get them feeling better about themselves, improve their self-worth often, then we can get them to start thinking differently about their lives.
That's brilliant. Really interesting stuff, especially how, the brain can sort of form new neurons and connections, and you think that once you've got your brain, that's it, but no, you can actually work with it. But what I'm going to do now, Nicholas, is find out a little bit more about you. We're going to talk about sort of an event that you have running regularly, and then we're going to find out after that how we're going to work with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this button. You're going to get about 10-15 seconds to think about this, and when we come back, we're going to hear from you again. So here we go. So, Nicholas, your inspiration.
Well, it's a little bit quite personal to me, really. It's my twin sister.
Wow, didn't know you had a twin sister, but brilliant.
Yeah, twin sister, born on Christmas Day. So it's a bit of a Christmas bundle coming through there. So,
wow.
I mean, she's always been there for me. Even at school, she used to run over and protect me, and she's always been there. And when we left school, I went straight into the Royal Navy, and she went straight into education, because during our formative years in school, our education wasn't as good as it could have been. We kind of mixed in this grammar and comprehensive mixed stream, which we were the first kind of years to go through it, and it's quite chaotic. So we left school with not very good qualifications. She went on to do A levels, went on to be a trained nurse, and went on to do a degree in psychology. So she's always been my inspiration. Whenever I used to think, oh, things aren't working out, I'd give her a call and say, well, look, come on, pull yourself together. So she's always been there for me. She's still there now for me. So it's, yeah, I just think about what she's achieved when I'm feeling a bit, oh, I can't do this. Because we're all human. We all have our moments.
Yes.
So,
And obviously, being a twin, I mean, you know, the mind, the brain, are you sort of wired the same? Is it, you know?
there are some things, definitely, yeah. There are some things that we just instinctively know about each other. Sometimes we've had the odd session where she's had a pain and I've had the similar pain. So we do kind of share those things. We are different sometimes in our behavior because, as I don't know if you've, I can't go into it now, but there's 4 different types of behavior for human beings, and we're probably slightly different behaviors, but that's more shaped by our life's experiences. But certainly at a base level, yeah, we're very similar in a lot of aspects.
Brilliant. I bet you enjoy that Christmas Day birthday, don't you?
Yeah, well, it's quite good. I suppose the only down about it is that it's only 6 days before the next year. So I'm a year older in 6 days' time of this year. So.
Yeah.
But no,
yeah.
it's quite fun. It's quite novel, really. It's the days I think I've got Halo are different.
Yeah, brilliant. So, Nicholas, if we were thinking about hypnosis, you know, A, what are the, how would I know I need hypnosis? And then B, how would I make contact? And how do you work with your clients? How does it all work?
Well, yeah, generally with my clients, I tend to have a 15-minute kind of pre-discussion. So it's kind of what we call a finding out call, really. Find out about their background. Excuse me, sorry. Find out about their background. And 30% of therapy is actually building rapport with the therapists. So in that 15 minutes, I have to establish rapport with my client. I have to, and I'll give you an example of that. There was somebody I worked with, a female, didn't like males, so didn't really like men. So I had to build rapport within that 15 minutes, then move on to the initial consultation. So once we've done that, we've built rapport and they decide that I'm the person to go ahead with. We have the initial consultation, at which stage I explain how the brain works. And that's the most important part probably of the therapy. Actually, funny, if once people understand how the brain works, often it's 50% of the therapy is over, because after that, we stop blaming ourselves for thinking badly about ourselves. So we stop blaming ourselves for having low self-esteem and self-worth, because we suddenly realize, oh, no, that's just how my brain works. You know, if I'm watching a piece of negative news, then I realize that I'm feeling stressed and anxious because my brain is trying to protect me. My brain's thinking, well, you're not in that position, you're not as bad as that, so look how lucky you are. So our brain is always trying to save energy or save our lives, and if we allow it, it can take over. So we just have to take control back. And once clients get control back, once we've had that first session, I've always seen a climb up to this scaling where they end up on an 8 or 9, and so literally that could be as little as 4 sessions, maybe even 8 sessions, but very rarely it goes over that. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, but that's kind of more the exception than the rule.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Thank you. And you have like a mindfulness event. Do I call it a mindfulness event? Every week.
Yeah, it could be called a mindfulness, but that's only a part of it. The first part really is about helping people to be the best version of themselves. Now, we've looked at different areas. We've looked at rapport building. We've looked at communication. We've looked at how our senses work. And the other week, we looked at resilience and coping. So it's really about helping people to perform at their optimum, either in relationships and their personal lives, but particularly with the Cobra Club in the business. When we're feeling happy, relaxed, it's surprising what we can achieve. We get out of bed in the morning and we're feeling really good. You know, we can achieve anything. And as you've said before, Andrew, the brain is so powerful. The brain actually has more potential neural connections than there are atoms in the universe. considerably more. We can't even think of the number. So we can actually, when people say we can achieve and be anything we want to be, it is actually true. And visualization is a huge part of what I do. It's getting people to visualize their future. And as you said, Hannah, once you start to visualize your future, you create a new template in the brain, and then the brain will start looking for that information. So if you're negative, the brain will access your library, which is your hippocampus of experience, and pull up that negative experience and then relate everything to that. So let's say, for example, I don't think I can ride a bike. Every time I try and get them a bike, the brain, well, you're stupid, Nick, you can't ride a bike. Whereas if I'm positive and create a positive template, and now I can ride bikes and start believing and in that kind of concept, every time I see a bike, the brain will go, oh, there's a bike, you can ride that. It's true about cars with me. I mean, most men believe they're the best drivers in the world, but I can generally, because I've had a lot of experience with cars, I can jump in a car and drive most cars straight away. So my brain, because I remember I drove a little while, 3 months ago, I was going to buy a sports car. I didn't in the end, but I'd never driven one before. And it's a particular type of sports car. They can be tricky to drive. And I jumped in and started driving. The guy said, wow. He said, you've never driven one before. I said, that's really good. And I'm not saying that. I'm just trying to explain how the brain works, because I expected to be able to drive well. And so I drove better than he expected me to. So that's an example of how the brain works. Once we start being positive, we look at everything positively, and our life literally changes.
Yeah, that's really positive. So that is, believe and achieve. If you believe you can achieve, so why don't you believe and achieve down at the Cobra Club? And what time's it on, Nicholas? When is it?
12 till 1 on a Monday.
Fantastic. So come along, because it is all about mindset and business. Get yourself revved up for the week and start believing in your efforts and your business endeavors. Obviously, with Power of the Cobra Club, get some help and support from within the club and start turning those ideas into reality, or that, getting over that hurdle or that problem or whatever it is, and we'll help you to do that. So thank you, Nicholas. It's been great today. And how quickly, if you can just read out so someone can get hold of you.
Yeah, so you can get hold of me at info@ndny.uk or on my website, www.newdaynewU.uk or ndny.uk, www, and 07831162438.
Fantastic. Look at that. Thank you, Nicholas. You enjoy that, Hannah?
Yeah, really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's all really good. So, I just want to say a big thanks for coming on today. And we'll see you in the club soon. So here we go. Wow, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really interesting. And highly recommend Nicholas. Highly knowledgeable, and obviously helps a lot of people through a lot of issues, smoking, weight loss, depression, anxiety, etc. So I'd recommend anyone out there having a chat with Nicholas.
And if you're in the club, if you're a member of the club, so you can go to his event every week for free.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I mean, that's good, isn't it? To be able to access that, like the way that he makes you even to start to sort of understand the brain and feel positive. If you could get that every week. Yeah,
I've been to some of his events, and I really enjoy them. I'd highly recommend anyone. It is an hour of sort of talk about the brain, and then we do a sort of session at the end. And throughout that session, you just sit back and relax and let Nicholas do his thing. And I always feel a lot more positive. And
great that it's on a Monday, really. If you start, if you can switch your brain into that kind of positive way of thinking at the beginning of the week, that's a good way to start the week off.
Yeah, it's good. We have several things on that Monday. So starting off at 9 is the Monday motivation. So that's a sales-led networking event, which is sales tips and tricks and collaborating and hooking up people with other people to, drive their business forward for the week. And then you've got Nicholas's event running at midday, which is, all about the mind, training your mind to get over those hurdles in your business or yourself, because ultimately it's normally yourself that holds you back, because we're all capable of doing, what we do, and we all know what we can do, but it's our own a lot of time it's our own anxieties, I think, that hold us back from these things. So that's why that event is so valuable, especially in business.
Yeah, well, I mean, we make time, don't we, often we make time for our physical health, like we'll go to the gym or go for a swim, and that's something that we schedule into our timetables without much thought, but we don't necessarily schedule in the health of our brain, do we?
No, not at all. No.
Really important to everything, to our relationships, to our work. So even if it's just an hour on Monday at Nick's event, or that's something to start with, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I'm just looking down. I can see Carol's here, but I can't see if she's got her video on. So if you are there, Carol, and you can hear us, turn your mic and your video camera on so we can see you. Aha, I think she's coming in now. So I'll let Carol just sort out her microphone and her video, and then we'll get her on. But in the meantime, while she sorts that out, what we are going to do, we'll run VT and we'll come back. Hopefully, we might just talk about a couple of events, just make sure Carol can get her kit organised, and we'll be back. Hi, Carol.
Hi. Sorry about the mix-up with the mics and the camera.
That's all right. I wasn't sure if you were there. I thought you might be there.
I was here. We had a complete mix-up months ago when we got some software, which we then tried to uninstall, and periodically it substitutes their camera for mine, and I don't know it's happened.
Right.
Anyway, that's a long story.
Yes.
That's
a technical-ism. But no, welcome onto the Gritty Business Show. And so, topic of your talk today: how writing and publishing can be good for your business. So, before we start on the talk, Carol, I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about your background. I've got your bio here, but maybe you could just let us know where you've been, what you're doing, and what you're up to now.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've had a very mixed sort of background because I tend not to plan things and I get waylaid by ideas really easily. So I've done all sorts of things over my life. And I suppose a starting point was when I was a very small child. My father used to have kind of open house every Friday evening, and everybody here, my mother knew, could just drop in. And they'd be there chatting and debating and arguing all through the half the night. And so I was always exposed to different ideas and thoughts, really from early on. My working life was mainly in the corporate world. So I started in industry. My last employed role was as one of the directors of the Arts Council of Great Britain. And kind of along the way, I was involved in publishing and editing, in management consultancy, in training, in coaching. So various things, mostly to do with developing people in different ways. I got involved with NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, in 1986, and chaired the Association of NLP for some years. And a number of my books are based on that. So it was interesting actually hearing Nicholas before, because a lot of what we do overlaps. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I've run my own businesses for over 30 years, and again, lots of things. A lot of it's to do helping companies develop and helping people develop. So
fantastic. But you've got, because you're a bit of a writer, you've got some new books launching later this month, haven't you? In a couple of days, actually. And there's a question here, which I'm going to ask you about why you've been called the Food Whisperer.
I shall tell you in a second. And before that, would you like to see the first books I ever wrote?
Yeah, are they the ones I'm going to share on screen?
No.
No.
Oh, those
5, I think. One's about William Caxton and one's about ancient Mesopotamia, ideal topics for 5-year-olds, but they were my first. And the most ones are these. And I'll explain about them in a second. The Food Whisperer bit is because one of these new books is this, right? Comestibles are things you eat. Some people don't know what comestibles are.
Okay, yeah, I was just really trying to decipher what I actually said, comestibles.
Yes.
And
So
heard the word.
it's actually about personal effectiveness, but it's also about food, because all 3 of the books are conversations between me and inanimate objects. So there's one on business, which is chats with objects around the house. There's one on writing, which is chats with things like, oh, there they go. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, so the one is about business. That's chats with objects, like the paperclip you see on the cover. The one on the left is about writing, and that's chats with things like punctuation marks and elements of speech. And the one on the right is chats with food.
Brilliant.
If we could take those away again for a sec, that's great. So somebody who did a review for me on that book kind of said I was a food whisperer. So I quite like that. I'm going to change my LinkedIn profile and add that to it, because I think
Yes.
so. It's chats with food, and that's also why it's got a fish on the cover. Would you like to hear a little bit from it?
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's difficult explaining to people how it's about food when it's also about personal effectiveness. And this kind of also ties in with the first half of the program today. So this little bit, it's got pictures too. So this one is about potato salad.
Oh.
Okay.
Right, so the contents are laid out as a menu, and this bit's about potato salad. So it's about self-esteem. It's quite short. Hello, Caper. How are you today? To be truthful, I'm not so good. Sorry to hear that. What's wrong? I'm just a tiny caper who's never done anything to be proud of. Nobody thinks much of me, and I don't think much of myself either. I'm just not a great caper. Has anyone actually told you that? Well, no, they haven't, but it's what I think about myself. And would you like to do anything about that? I would. It would be great to feel better about myself. The other capers in my jar all seem very sure of themselves. I think they'd be popular everywhere. Appearances can be deceptive, you know. Sometimes others aren't as self-assured as you think they are, but they just put on a good front. What do you think might help you? Well, if there was something I was good at, it might make me feel better. I'm really sure at it. In that case, this is a lucky day. I'm about to make a potato salad, and you're going to be the star of the show. I'm boiling some salad potatoes in their skins, cutting them up, and then while they're still warm, I'm going to mix them with salad cream, which is a little more acidic than mayonnaise, chopped up pimentos that have been in olive oil, and then capers, so you will be the star. You are what will make this dish shine, a little flower bud from a caper bush. Really? Little me? The star of the show? Someone's noticed me and seen that I'm good at something. How wonderful. And when you dive into those potatoes, you'll see that as well. Ready? Yes, I am. So that's the sort of thing.
Brilliant.
And the idea is really to give people little tips. The world's full of business books. I don't need to write another business textbook, although I have done some. The idea behind these is that if you can amuse people and give them a small nugget of information, there's stuff out there. They can go on a course, they can read books, they can look at videos. There's all sorts of things they can do. So it's not a comprehensive how to do everything. That was not how to develop self-esteem, the manual. It's just, here's a topic. There are things you can do. Go and find out. So that's the theory behind those books.
Brilliant.
Carol, all the books behind you, are they all the books you've written?
Well, there's some of the books I've written, yes.
Yeah.
But yes, they're all my books.
Yeah.
They're a mix of things. Mostly they're business books based on NLP. 3 of them, it's the wrong way round. It's reversed itself.
Yeah, I'm
No,
going
I can't do it. The pictures
I'll
of
do it off.
the ones on the right of the screen are children's books. There's one on health, there's one on ecology, and there's one on making friends.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of other things. There's one on pig keeping. There's one on weight management. There's one on producing magazines. You know, it's a mix.
So you've got the launch for these books on the 25th of October. Is that right?
25th, Tuesday 25th, 6 o'clock. I'm doing a Zoom event where I'm going to be talking about the new book, the 3 new books, and doing some readings from them, and really chatting a bit about writing and, you know, how it can be useful and how you do it. And I'll be doing a special offer on that day, so people could get some free books.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you're out there and you want to go to the book launch, there's Carol's details down below there. So I'm sure you'd be delighted to see some people in your book launch.
And the reason for the landline is that mobiles don't really work here. So mobile, but there's no point in me phoning it.
That's okay.
I'll just add one quick thing, because we did say this was about, you know, how writing can help your business. A lot of people feel they ought to write something, or that having a book would help their business. But there's more to it than that. There's blogs, there's websites, there's promotional material. There's all sorts of ways in which writing in some form can be helpful for your business. And if you know how to do it effectively, it really helps. And if you want a book but can't write it yourself, there are people out there who will do ghostwriting. I don't do that, but there are people who will. So it's a really useful element of a successful business.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed about you, Carol, and obviously by reading that story as well, is the importance of humour. And I believe you have a story such as, why did the pig eat a kipper?
Oh, okay, right, yes. So there's 3 things that are important to me in life and in business. And one is humour, one is simplicity, and one is curiosity. And I think humour is really important. Behind me, there's a cerise-coloured book, and it's some stories of my life, and it's 150 sort of odd things that have happened over the years. One of them was about pig. So I used to keep rare breed pigs, and we had a couple of litters a year because it's the only way the rare breeds survive. And one particular sow had a litter, and then she didn't get up, which was a bit worrying because normally they're up within minutes. So I called the vet, who was quite old school but knew a lot about pigs. And he came and examined her and said, there's nothing wrong with her. What you need to do is get her a kipper. So I looked at him, kipper? Yeah, just go and buy her a kipper. So we live in a sort of just outside a small town, so I went and spoke to the fishmonger I knew, and I said, Derek, I need a kipper for my pig. And he sort of looked at me. Anyway, so I bought the kipper. And I came back and offered it to the pig, and she shut up at the kipper and was absolutely fine. It was very weird. I don't know why he knew eating a kipper would be a good way of getting on her feet.
Yeah.
It's quite specific as well, isn't it? It's not any type of fish. A kipper.
I only assume it was either the vitamins in it or the smell. The vitamins had time to work, so I guess it was the strong smell. Of course, with foot and mouth, you know, it's illegal. I don't know that it was illegal then, but it could have been. You can't feed things like that to pigs. But it was probably the smell. But it works instantly. So that book is 150 things like that. Not all like that, but that's sort of...
Brilliant. What I'm going to do now, Carol, because you've got some other things coming up. But before we do that, I'm just going to ask you a little random question. So you're going to get a few seconds to think about. You're going to get 44 seconds to think about this. When we come back, we're going to find out the answer. So here we go. Okay, so you're in a super duper time machine. Where or what part of history? Where would you go, Carol?
Oh, ancient Egypt. I've always been fascinated by it. When we lived in London, I used to live at the British Museum and in the Egyptian rooms, and absolutely fascinated by it. So absolutely there, yes.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's like say, it's fascinating stuff, and so much stuff out there we still don't understand with it all, you know.
And I'm sure we'd probably find if we went back in time, people would be exactly like us. You know, we think, oh, it's another species, they're aliens. No, they're not. They're just people. But it would be interesting.
I'm sure we could talk about that for hours. But
what happens if you find a super duper time machine? You'll have to come back and tell us what it was like.
Yeah. So I've got just a few minutes left, Carol. So you're running an event on the 2nd of November. What's this event about? Yeah, let's all know what's happening.
It's a short event. Again, it's on Zoom. It's only 45 minutes. It's part of a series that I've been doing. And this particular one is really about what's happening with the economic situation and how people can either save money or earn more money. So it's going to be quite light-hearted. There's been a lot of information and a suggestion about something that might help them, but it's basic, it's information based and should be amusing. So if people would like to know more, if they either about that or the book launch, if they contact me, then I'll give them more details and send them some links.
Yeah, I think there's still opportunities out there to make money, to change your life, to still do the things that you want to do, you know, and it's never too late to start something or get involved. I mean, ideas can take off so quickly if they're good ones, can't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And sometimes you just need that little bit of spark, lights the fire.
And I guess I started my main business when I was older than probably both of you are today. So you can do things at any time.
Yeah. And it is easy to get waylaid, you know, by ideas, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, getting waylaid by ideas, and
Yes.
all I've had ideas. We've all sat on them and not done anything with them. So if you've got an idea and you want to get it to fruition, come along to Carol's event. So if you contact Carol on those details, I'm sure you'd love to see them. And obviously, don't forget Carol's book launch on the 25th of October at 6 p.m. Can we find that book on Amazon?
Yes, all 3 books are on Amazon.
I'm just going to grab something.
There'll be an extra offer as well, but they're all up on Amazon at the moment. Oh, and
there it is. I came to your last book launch.
Yes, just a little word about that. That is an updated version of an earlier book. If anybody buys that book, make sure it's got that cover, because the earlier book was written 20 years before and really is somewhat out of date. But that's up on Amazon as well.
Fantastic.
So on my website, which is just carolharris.uk.
Fantastic. So yeah, I'd urge anyone out there to check all of that out. And thank you so much, Carol. It's been enlightening as always, talking to you. And wish you all the best for your book launch. And we look forward to seeing you soon. Okay.
Thank you. That's great being here.
Take care. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it reminded me of so when Carol said about writing for business and being waylaid by ideas, it reminds me that you say quite a lot. You come up with quite a lot of ideas, don't you, Andrew? And then your following line is write that down.
Write that down. Just write it down. Don't forget it. Yeah, brilliant. We're rapidly running out of time, Hannah, so just going to quickly talk about 2 workshops we've got coming up. So the first one is this one here. It's the monthly marketing drop-in, the first Thursday of every month. So we're having a bit of a workshop day at the Cobra Club. So if you want your question answered and your marketing reviewed with Logan's expert eye and insight, then do drop in between 10 and 12. Also, we have Natalie King, the confidence coach, who's having a goal setting workshop. Set goals, plan action steps, get to work, and accountability. So that's going to be good. And just quickly, Hannah, we've got your event. When's your event?
Monday with Christy. We run the event 3:30 till 4:30 in the club.
Fantastic, thank you. So what we're going to do, I mean, we're going to repeat that in a second because now we're rapidly running out of time. So we're going to go into the weekly events. So there's about 20 events every week inside the Cobra Club. If you're a member, you get access to all the clubs, all the events for free. So let's roll through these, Hannah, and if I can actually find the video. So I'll start and then you take over. Okay, here we go. All right, so coming up in the Cobra Club, starting off Monday Motivation, every Monday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. a sales-led networking collaboration event hosted in the Cobra Club by Ed Williamson.
And then we've got Nicholas Holmes, who we met earlier, with the Believe and Achieve event on Mondays, 12 to 1 p.m. to switch you into positive thinking.
Awesome. We just heard from Hannah herself with Christie's and Hannah's Coffee Collected every Monday from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m.
And then Monday evening, we've got the fabulous Saffron Khan, who runs his event from 7 till 8.
Awesome. Next up, we have Judith West from Quest West, business working in the Southwest every Tuesday, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m.
And following that, you can join the Fun Business Quiz with David McKenna, who co-hosted with you last week, and that's Tuesdays, 3 till 4 p.m.
Thank you. Next up, we have Elaine Atherton with the Make It Happen Hub, accountability hub for small business owners. Get some sales, become accountable every Wednesday, 9 a.m.
Followed by the Investment Lounge, so that's David Lockett, and that runs from 10 to 11 o'clock on a Wednesday.
Thank you. David will help you put some money in your pocket. Next up, Meeting Talents every Wednesday night, 7 p.m.
And then we are on to Thursday, so at 9 a.m., 9 till 10, there is the Jigsaw Hour, which is hosted by Yvonne Taylor, who basically knows everybody and can connect you up.
Brilliant. Next up, we have Kath Kirkland with the Networking Business Generator every Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m.
And then we've got Chris Mason, who runs Cobra Strike, and that's the 300 Club, and that's weekly on a Thursday, 1 till 2 p.m.
Awesome. Then we have Louise Montblanc down in Dorset. First thing Friday, business network event every Friday at 8 a.m.
And then the Cobra Express up in Scotland, that runs every Friday from 1 till 2:30 p.m. and that's a great event to go to.
Brilliant. Last up of the events, we have Sharon Ritchie, Loose Women on the Wind Down every Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. So well done, Sharon. A couple of other things we got in the club. We had the Cobra Property Club, which happens at the moment once a month, which happened this Friday, actually, this morning at 10 a.m. But it's on every month. You can find out details on our site. We also have these things in the Cobra Club called the Mixer Hour, where it's a random, you can rock up any time, at these set times and find other people to network with. So that's good. So come and join us. But where do people join us, Hannah?
www.thecobraclub.co.uk.
Fantastic. Well, there you go.
That's all events that members can go to, any of them for free.
Yeah.
But then if you're not a member, can you attend an event or?
You can attend an event for £5 per event, and you can find that on the website cobraclub.co.uk/events, or just head to the events page and you can see all the events there, and you can just go to Eventbrite and buy a ticket. So yeah, come and check it out. If you want to contact us, I'm sure one of us will give you a free ticket. So come and contact us, put some details in the chat, or email us at the Cobra Club, Andrew at thecobraclub.co.uk, or Hannah.Matarazzo at thecobraclub.co.uk. get in contact. So I want to thank you today, Hannah. It's been a great show, and yeah, just good, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really good, and it's made me realise about that positive thinking. It's a good way to head into the weekend and maybe make some plans over the weekend for the next kind of season.
Yeah, so stay positive, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now you're watching me, yeah, all eyes on me, 'cause I've been living the good life. So come fly with me into my fantasy, and we be loving the good life, good life.
I think this dream now just hit me. Why don't you just go there with me? Surf in the skies and splash in the clouds, dance in the crowds and laugh out loud. Holding your hand, unfolding a plan. Two souls in a land like gold in a pan. Float in the breeze or soak in the sea. Come go there with me where we both wanna be. Lie on the beach or fly in the streets. I'm trying to keep this vine in the reach. Putting everything I do aside, me and you are first. We can travel to the very end of the universe. You and me are meant to be divine energy. Living with no rules in a pool of serenity. Come be my fantasy, go away with me. Lock us up in a dream and throw away the key. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on, live this with me. Good laugh, good love, we live free. Come on, live this up now. Good life, good laugh, good love now. Come on, live this with me. Good laugh, good love, we live free. We need to rise with these new eyes. Pull the disguise off of these blue skies. Lights in the city reflect off the shoreline. When you're living this life, you want more time. Rewind the time, align planets. Ride this comet to a new dynamic. Your eyes on me, mine on you. Living the good life, we do what
Now
we
you're
want to.
watching me, yeah,